House hacking has one irresistible promise. Buy a small multi-unit property, live in one unit, rent the others, and let the rent erase your housing cost. In the best version, the people next door pay the mortgage while you build equity. That can happen, but it is not the same thing as free. Today's example starts with just $17,500 down on a $500,000 duplex. We are going to run that conservative example at today's rate environment and ask the only question that matters. After the mortgage, insurance, vacancy, maintenance, and the occasional phone call at midnight, is your own housing cost actually zero? The answer is more useful than the internet version, because if the math works after the friction, this can turn your biggest monthly expense into a real wealth-building engine.
First, the part that is real. FHA financing can apply to an owner-occupied property with as many as 4 units. For an eligible purchase, the minimum down payment can be 3.5%. On a $500,000 duplex, that is $17,500 before closing costs and reserves. But this is not an investor loan dressed up as a shortcut. At least one borrower has to move in within 60 days and intend to make the property a principal home for at least a year. And the lender still examines income, credit, the property, and the local loan limit. The low down payment opens a door. It does not carry you through it.
Our model is a $500,000 duplex. 3.5% down creates a base loan of $482,500. Using a 30-year rate benchmark of 6.49%, the principal and interest payment is about $3,047 a month. Now add $750 for property tax and insurance in this example, plus roughly $221 a month for FHA mortgage insurance. That is about $4,018 before one tenant misses a payment, before a water heater breaks, and before either unit sits empty. The viral pitch starts with rent. The real analysis starts with everything rent has to survive.
So give the model room to breathe. We reserve 5% of rent for vacancy and 8% for maintenance. Those are not laws. A newer building might need less. An older roof can need far more. With those two cushions, the duplex needs about $4,618 of gross rent each month just to cover the modeled monthly costs. If both other units are rented, that is roughly $2,309 from each. Notice what is missing from the slogan. Free housing is not a property type. It is a break-even result. Your market's rents, taxes, insurance, condition, and financing decide whether you reach it. Run this math on a real listing before you fall in love with the keys.
This is the part no spreadsheet can make pleasant. You are not just a homeowner. You are a landlord who shares a wall, a driveway, or a yard with the people paying you. A late rent conversation is not a distant email. It can be the person you pass on the stairs. Repairs do not arrive on a convenient schedule. Vacancy can turn a beautiful-looking deal into a monthly bill you personally cover. And even good tenants create work: screening, leases, access, noise boundaries, bookkeeping, and the judgment to know when a problem needs a professional. House hacking is not passive income at the beginning. It is owner-operator income, with a home attached. If the property clears that break-even line, the upside is not only the rent you did not pay, it is what happens behind the mortgage statement. In this example, the loan balance falls by about $5,400 in the first year. That principal paydown is real equity before counting any change in the property's value. But do not call it a return until you subtract the costs of getting in, operating, and eventually getting out. Appreciation can help. It can also stall or reverse. Renovations can create value, but only if the rent or resale value actually supports what you spent. The durable part of the story is not a guaranteed price jump. It is owning an asset while a well-run rental plan helps service the debt.
Before you buy, run the bad month version of the deal. What happens if one unit is empty for 2 months? What happens if the furnace, plumbing, or roof needs attention in the same year? What if insurance renews higher than the quote? If those answers force you onto a credit card, the deal is not cash flowing enough for your life. A house hack needs reserves because rent is not a paycheck. It is variable business revenue. The goal is not to make the prettiest spreadsheet. The goal is to own a property that still lets you sleep when the spreadsheet gets ugly. Shared walls are easier to live with when the emergency fund is already in the bank.
The long game version is simple. Live in the property. Learn the operations. Build a cash reserve. Let the mortgage amortize. Improve the building only when the numbers justify it. Then decide whether the next move is to stay, rent your former unit after moving, sell, or keep building. Each choice has financing, tax, and local law consequences. A 1031 exchange is not a cheat code for a personal home. The IRS generally limits it to qualifying business or investment real estate, so get tax advice before you build an exit plan around it. The point is not to turn one duplex into an empire overnight. It is to create options with a disciplined asset.
House hacking fits a specific kind of buyer, someone who can live with less privacy for a season, has stable enough income to qualify and hold reserves, can learn basic property operations, and is buying in a market where the rent math works. It is a poor fit if you need every dollar of the rent to survive, hate the idea of a tenant next door, or are buying because someone online made it sound automatic. There is no shame in choosing a simpler wealth path. Investing through retirement accounts, renting while you build cash, or buying a single home later can be exactly right. The best strategy is the one whose downside you can actually carry.
3 moves before you ever tour a property. 1. Choose a real neighborhood and collect the actual rent for each unit, not an online estimate. 2. Build the break-even line with your own loan quote, taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance, vacancy reserve, maintenance reserve, and closing costs. 3. Run the empty unit test. If one vacant unit turns the deal into an emergency, wait and strengthen the reserve. House hacking can make your housing expense smaller, sometimes dramatically smaller, while you build ownership. But it works only when the math survives the shared walls, the repairs, and the quiet months. Next on the long game, your first 100K. Why it's the hardest. Munger was right, and the math proves it. This channel is education, not financial advice.
If this video saved you money, the like button helps someone else find it. Subscribe to the Long Game HQ for weekly money math without the hype. And watch next, your first 100K and why it is the hardest. Munger was right, and the math proves it.